America is now entering its 5th century of educating students. For every generation of Americans throughout the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, and now the 21st centuries, a good education has been a major emphasis. It was that way when the first colonists arrived here 4 centuries ago, and that goal remains unchanged today. Yet by what standard should a good education be measured? It must be measured by more than just technological advances. It must also be measured by how much content a student has learned and how well that student has been taught to think and to reason. Unfortunately, there's abundant evidence that while the technological advances in this generation have been significant, the cognitive advances have not been nearly as great. Consider, for example, this 1862 geography test from Chicago Public Schools. Notice some of the 4th grade questions in 1862. How many degrees of longitude are there? How many degrees wide are the temperate zones? What is a watershed? Name the principal animals of the frigid zones. This represented basic 4th grade knowledge in 1862. That same year, this math text, Ray's Arithmetic, was one of the most popular elementary math texts in American schools. Notice some elementary math questions from 1862. I insured 2/3 of a shop worth $3,600 and 4/5 of a house worth $6,000, paying $126. What was the rate of insurance? Or, how much money must be given with 9 $100 shares at 15% discount in exchange for 8 $100 bonds at 2% discount? And these were elementary math problems. This math book for elementary students provides exercises that students had to solve mentally only. That is, only in their minds. No pencils, no papers allowed. Notice some of the mental math problems for elementary students in 1877. A boat worth $864, of which 1/8 belonged to A, 1/4 to B, and the rest to C, was lost. What loss did each sustain, it having been insured for $500? This was a mental math problem in elementary schools in 1877. Here's another. On a farm, there are 60 animals: horses, cows, and sheep. For each horse, there are 3 cows, and for each cow, there are 2 sheep. How many animals of each kind? Or try this one. If 7 men can do a piece of work in 4 days, in what time can it be done if 3 of the men leave when the work is half completed? In 1877, these were math problems that elementary students solved in their minds. Or try a few basic history questions from 1882. History questions about the United States Constitution. What is a writ of habeas corpus? What is a bill of attainder? What is an ex post facto law? Enumerate the powers denied to the several states. What are bills of credit? How many elementary students today, or even adults in this so-called modern and advanced generation, could answer such elementary academic questions as these from a century ago? Consider one final example of the educational content of previous generations. It is this book, The Federalist Papers. Written in the years 1787 and 1788 by 3 prominent founding fathers, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay, this work explained to the citizens of the new United States why a federal constitution was needed. Even today, this work is still considered the single most authoritative source on the intent of the Constitution. There's currently a law professor in Alabama who requires his law students to read this book, all of it. And why not? Before they can become attorneys, they'll swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. So why not learn about the intent of the document they'll swear to uphold? Yet those law students, enrolled in today's graduate-level legal studies, regularly complain to him about the difficulty of reading that old book. That professor nods sympathetically and responds, "I understand. This book was not written for someone at your educational level. This book was written for the common, average, upstate New York farmer of 1787. Perhaps someday you, as a graduate student, will attain the educational level of those early New York farmers." Indisputably, our early educational system was remarkable. In fact, since it was responsible for producing the longest ongoing constitutional republic in the history of the world, it is worth looking more closely at what, for 4 centuries, made the American educational system so successful and so different from all others.